Teresa Wagner was last seen on the night of January 10th, 1992, at an Odessa nightclub by the name of West LA. She was out partying and dancing with friends.
She'd been out to a club on 8th Street with some of her friends. That's the kind of things that they did back in then. There was a whole strip of clubs that were down 8th Street and Grandview right there, so they were going back and forth to different clubs, which was typical back in that day.
Susan Rogers, the CEO of Odessa Crime Stoppers, says that would be the last time anyone saw her.
Everybody kind of went their own ways, and they thought she had gone home. And one of them went by her parents' house the next day, which is where she lived with her 2 children, and they said she had not come home.
Fast forward 46 days. On February 25th, her body was found in West Ector County, about a half a mile north of I-20, near FM 866, on an oil field lease road. She was just 25 years old.
The guy was out checking the leases and was driving by and thought that there was actually a dead animal out there. And as he got closer, he realized that it wasn't an animal, called the sheriff's office, and it kind of formed from there.
Since her decomposition was so far along, few clues were left behind for investigators, and there were no obvious signs of murder.
They were not able to determine her manner of death or cause of death. She had no, gunshot wound, no stab stuff that they could see, stab wounds that they could determine were there. So her cause of death was just listed as undetermined.
Eventually, the sheriff's office put out a picture of the tattoo Teresa had on her shoulder of a Pegasus.
That tattoo ultimately helped identify her, and her parents were able to identify her.
Investigators strongly believe foul play was involved, but an extensive investigation eventually turned cold. Teresa had 2 small children at the time of her death, who are now young adults. Rogers is hoping someone remembers something about Teresa or from back in that time.
Someone will see it, someone will hear it, and they'll think, gosh, I remember that. I remember her from back then, and, I just wasn't comfortable talking to law enforcement at that time. You knew anything about her. You might not have been there that night, but was she having a problem with anybody? Did you, see anything? Something will pop in one of them's mind and, somebody's mind, and they'll think, well, maybe that's got something to do with it, and I never told anybody. So, that kind of information is what we're looking for.
Rogers says there were several cases similar to Teresa's in the early 90s, but that someone out there knows how she ended up in an oil field lease after a night out. She says the smallest information could help.
Was she seeing somebody? Did you see her leave that evening with someone? Did you happen to be there that night and see her talking to somebody? And then remember when it showed up that she was the missing person that was found out there, then, and just never told anybody.